Hey everyone, this is Khara Brindle back again with Ashley. Hey Ashley.
Hey.
We are on our next video, which is all about the challenges of private practice. So, how I want to kick this off is Ashley, I know you're connected to a lot of folks. I'm connected to a lot of students. Talk to us about what you're hearing they think are the biggest challenges. Like, haven't even gone into private practice, but like the assumptions of what makes it challenging. What have you heard?
I think there's a big assumption out there that you will be full in a couple months and you'll be super financially stable and your calendar will be back-to-back clients right away. And recognizing, like, I'm not here to burst anyone's bubble or discourage anyone, but there's a lot of assumptions out there about whether private practice is easy versus hard. And so
Yeah,
being realistic, I think, is one of the first challenges of considering a private practice.
absolutely.
And I think a major point is just because someone is a good therapist does not mean that they will have a successful private practice in a short period of time. Again, I've seen therapists who think they can snap their fingers, put up a website, and be full in 2 months. And that's not the case. And so, how
Mhm.
can we teach people who are interested in going into private practice some skills or some knowledge so that they are realistic and they know what to expect?
Yeah, so this video is one part of that equation as we talk about some of the common things to consider.
Mhm.
In contrast to what you've been hearing, I think this is why I think of this cohort of students as, really, they're going to be really successful. Because when I asked them this question in an elective called Pursuing Private Practice, I said, what are your assumptions? And they said, it's hard, it's
Mhm.
lonely, it's going to take a while. And so I'm like, oh, good. They have a little bit more of maybe an
They
accurate
know.
temperature,
Yeah.
yeah, of like what's happening. We had some other, incongruencies that I had to help them understand, which is the whole purpose of this class. But, they did seem to have a sense of this is going to take a while to build. So, two ends of the spectrum. It's easy, it's lucrative, it's hard, it takes a while. We're going to talk about all the things, knowing that each of you has your own trajectory. And a lot of that is based on your location, who you serve, if you take insurance or not, so many
Mhm.
factors. So, where should we start first, Ashley? What do you want people to think about of how to navigate these challenges?
I think the first thing is being a therapist and running a business require different skill sets.
Mhm.
To run a business, you have to know legalities, you have to file paperwork, you have to set up your business with the state, but you also have to be able to identify your niche, market to your target clients, and successfully translate all of that into what you would consider a full caseload.
Mhm. Yeah, so even just what is full is something that comes up pretty much every 2 months in our
Yes,
social media
yes,
channels of like, what's
yes.
full? I'm like, I have to roll my eyes. I'm like, just like search the search, like it's already
Mhm.
there. Someone asked it last month. But yeah, so like all these different ways of how we define private practice, everything from what's full to what kind of clients we serve and the insurance that we take. Okay, what else?
So, along with that, how do you actually get those clients in the door? Thinking about what is your specialty, who is your ideal client, what modalities do you use, and who are you networking with? Who
Mhm.
knows who you are and what you have to offer? Are you networking with doctors' offices, human services workers, probation departments, attorneys? How are you going to set up those consistent referral streams so that you have your calendar filled?
Yeah. And I know it's specific to Colorado. I can't speak to any other state because I've only practiced mental health in Colorado at this stage in my career. But something I've noticed is that to network, it's not just about, hey, I'm going to buy you coffee and say, here's who I serve. So send me some referrals. Like it's not that simple. I
No,
think
it's not.
when people just blast out on social media, hey, I'm open for business. I take these kinds of clients. I'm private pay or insurance. Like that's useful to know, but I think Colorado is very much about connection. And so, how do you build connection? Is it through collaborations like this one that Ashley and I are doing? We've gotten to know each other better just making videos together. Is it something else that's collaborative so it feels more reciprocal versus, hey, I'm here, send me referrals, and that's it? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like to feel sales or markety because
Mhm.
I want to help people and that's why I'm a social worker. But when you have a private practice, you do have to think about what is my brand and how are
Mhm.
people going to know who I am and what I do and how I do it. Kind of like you said, it's not enough to say, I see trauma, I take this insurance. and here's my availability.
Right.
My first question is, what do you mean by trauma? Trauma is this
Right.
huge umbrella.
Hmm.
Um, and so, what is your definition of trauma? Because your definition might be very different than my definition. What is our theoretical background? What is our
Hmm.
evidence-based modality? And recognizing you should be able to answer those very, very specific questions when you network with other professionals.
Right. Right. And so networking serves this purpose. Also, it serves the purpose of what my students were echoing, which is it feels very lonely in private practice. You're
Mhm.
like you're a one person shop until you decide to grow, if you decide to grow.
Right.
And so for folks who are solo practitioners, networking has that other piece, which is I want to feel connected to my community. I want to know what's going on. I want to be able to think of someone when someone says, hey, I need someone who does equine therapy in Lakewood. Like, who is that person in my network that might be a warm handoff versus a cold call of like, I don't know if they're good or not so great clinician, but here's a
Right.
referral.
Mhm.
So it serves the purposes of connection as well as referrals for the clients you serve. Other thoughts on that?
I think private practice can be very isolating. Working alone, especially if you have your own office or you work solely online, can be super isolating. And also asking, how are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to get your own social needs met? How are you going to consult if you're the only one in your practice and you need help? And so, yes, it's about networking so you can fill your caseload, but it's also about how can I be successful? And that's taking care of myself personally, professionally, but also staffing cases and making sure I'm serving my clients in the best way that I can.
Right. So you and I were talking about support teams offline
Mhm.
today of like having various people for various purposes. This might include lawyers for like the paperwork that is like congruent with Colorado law and what's going on in each state that you serve clients in. It might be accountants when it comes to like
Mhm.
helping you navigate the numbers and the business side of things, but also those consultants and colleagues of like who's in my network and for what purpose. Who would you
Mhm.
add to the support team list if we had more people on there?
I think in general, when you are considering a private practice, making sure you have someone. Is it a mentor, a previous supervisor, some other trusted colleague, a consultant, a business coach, like you said, an attorney, or an accountant? There's a lot to know. And again, we don't know what we don't know, but there are people who do know, who can teach you and who you can learn from. And starting and building a business requires an investment. This is an investment in you, your career, your future, your community.
Right.
And there's typically a financial investment as well, but it's also taking the time and effort to learn how to logistically run a practice. And so I would say you need someone. It could be one of the people we mentioned. It could be multiple of those
Mhm.
people we just mentioned, but they can help you figure out how to create that business, build a website, which record keeping system to use, touch base about cases, touch base about insurance billing, et cetera. And so it eventually will probably evolve into more of a team, right? Like, oh, for this issue, I'm going to call this person. Oh, I have this
Right.
client, I'm going to call this person. But starting out, I think you need somebody.
Yeah, and I appreciate you naming the financial investment because I think a lot of people go onto our social media groups, which are a wealth of knowledge, but then they kind of crowdsource answers, right? And
Mhm.
so are those answers specific to the state they're trying to set up shop? Are those answers specific to the being in the know of the laws in that state? So I think of like the crowdsourcing has its benefits of like, tell me where you like to shop for your furniture. Like that feels pretty
Mhm.
innocent. But like for things like what do I need to do as a mandated reporter or what is the age of consent in my state for services that are mental health? Like these are things you probably don't want to crowdsource as much as go to the right professional who can say this is what it really looks like.
I agree.
And that requires a financial investment for any of us who are clinical supervisors or consultants. Like we're not going to do this for free. We're going to say you're paying for my time, but also for
Mhm.
me to say, let me streamline all the answers you want into one little package so you don't have
Mhm.
to take hours upon hours to find that information. So that might be a way to reframe the investment is I'm paying someone to do this for me or to give me the answers so I don't have to spend the time searching for them.
Right.
What do you think of that?
I completely agree. And I think even paying for 1 hour of a consultant's time is more than worth it. And I think people would be surprised how much information they get out of that hour. I think at this point I mean, I'll speak to my career, but maybe you can speak to this too. I have checklists of things I run through. It's 20 to 30 items long. Here's everything you should think about in
Mhm.
regards to private practice and how can we start that conversation. And then sometimes that's all people need, right? This
Right.
checklist of things to do. And then I know what I'm doing and I know who to go to if I need help in the future. For
Mhm.
some people, it's an ongoing relationship where it's more of a conversation over weeks or months of, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This could be the consequences of this decision. What do you think about this? And it takes longer for some people.
Yeah. And so depending on what you know and what you need, that's going to probably change the path of who you pursue for that support. And so that's kind of the theme as we're talking to new grads, mostly as viewers of this series, is that you don't know what you don't know. So like you're going to seek out someone who has those answers for you, and that's okay. Basically, encourage that. We don't want you
Yeah.
to just bootstrap it together and then 6 months in realize that you need to change something that's foundational to your business. Most of us do not have business degrees, so sometimes
Right.
it's framed from me to a consultee that you're basically getting my little MBA of like I went and did all the leadership trainings and now you're getting that in a very succinct packaged way.
Yes.
So hopefully anyone watching this video is kind of thinking about who are the people, where am I Googling them, how am I finding them? If it's not Google, ask your colleagues. Who do they recommend? Who do they trust? Who have they worked with in this capacity? Sometimes that is even better than a quick Google search, is filters it down. Who do they trust? And is that someone worth talking to? Any final thoughts, Ashley, for folks as they think about the challenges of private practice and navigating those?
Just some additional bullet points to think about. Setting your rates, determining how many clients per week you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about reducing isolation. We talked about finding community. And a final thought is continuing to know what resources exist in your community. So when clients need help outside of their therapeutic relationship with you, who can you send them to, what agency, what trusted colleagues, what services, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think in general, recognizing it's a different sort of energy to run a business. It's hard for me to shut my brain off as a business owner versus with clients. I easily shut my brain off at this point in my career. So allowing yourself some grace to learn about yourself and your practice and what's going to change for you.
Yeah, and I know that we specifically didn't give, like in the weeds details of how to run a practice because each person's going to do it differently.
Yeah,
But also, it evolves over time. So if
it
we'd said
does.
in this video at this time of this recording, here's how to do it, that could be outdated in 6 months because people are doing things differently.
Mhm.
So just know that we kept this broad on purpose, knowing
Mhm.
that each of you is going to go hopefully invest in your own private practice course or consultant or mentor or whoever to guide you through, knowing that it's needing to be in alignment with your values and needing to be current with who you want to serve and how you want to serve them. So yeah, this is why we kept it this way of just some things to think about, knowing you're probably going to pursue a deeper dive somewhere else. So Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me
You're
about
welcome.
this and talk to our viewers. I know there's probably more questions than answers, which is kind of how these videos work. So obviously, Ashley and I are resources for you if you have questions that we can answer in our consultant role or as a clinical supervisor. But stay tuned for more videos. We'll see you next time.